how did you do it in such a way that when you became unrelatable to people, like how has that affected your friendships, your life, your relationships? Because at one point, I'm guessing, you know, when you come to America, you crush on The Daily Show, things are going great, you know, Times 100 most influential people.
Well,
like
the crushing took some time, but yeah, okay.
No,
thank
of course, no. No, it took some time.
No, it's like it actually goes into your goes into your question.
Yeah,
carry on.
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
carry
yeah.
on, carry on. Yeah.
And I just think that there's an interesting thing about being so grounded and like I'm enjoying this conversation.
Right.
It's fun. We're like just having a real conversation,
Right.
but at the same time, to a lot of people externally, you can start becoming more unrelatable.
So what's interesting is this, the reason I put it in, the reason I say the crushing wasn't instant.
Yeah.
When you're on a journey, people oftentimes will remember the beginning of the journey, and they will define the journey by the way it currently is or how it ended. You know, you lived a good life because of how your life ended. If somebody is, you know, really poor for 80 years, then they win the lottery at 80, and then they buy their family stuff and they have a good, people be like, man, it was tough, but he had a good life.
Yeah.
You know? It's like,
wow.
Did they though?
Yeah.
Did they though? It's more like, oh, we remember, that ending is what we often remember. And to your point of relatable, my journey was really interesting, particularly in America, because for many months, maybe even a year and a bit, I was hated, you know, by many people. Don't get me wrong, there were many people who loved me, but it was such a visceral, understandable, but still visceral response to me as a concept. Who are you? How dare you? You're on the show, you know, and you're trying to establish, imagine trying to meet people for the first time, but they have an idea of you and they've already decided what the idea of you is.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And so you can't even relate or make yourself relatable to them. And then overnight, all of a sudden people go, oh, you're crushing it. It's a really weird space to be in, because it's terrible and then it's not, but your brain doesn't shift that quickly. I remember learning once that the human brain and the human body aren't necessarily always on the same page. If you're running from danger, if there's a threat and you run from the danger, even when the danger subsides, your body's still in the danger. And I think they talk about something similar in the book, The Body Keeps the Score. But
it's a great book.
Your body's still there. Your mind goes, all right, okay, I'm done. Your body's like, heart pumping, you know, veins throbbing, everything is still happening. And you know, that was part of my experience. But what was interesting was, to your point of relatable, I didn't even have a moment to exist in relatable. It was stranger, you know, don't like, different, weird, why do you say words the way you do? You know, what is aluminium? All these things coming together. And then, oh yeah, our guy, you know, which I'm grateful for, eternally grateful for. I always tell my people, everyone, I go, yo, do not forget how hard this was. Do not forget, you know, do not take it for granted. But what happens is, it's not that you don't become relatable or you aren't relatable. It's how people relate to you. They have one idea of who you are. They have one idea of how you are, and it's understandable because of how they interact with you. You know, I have two younger brothers, both, in my opinion, far wiser than I'll ever be. I always, you know, I'll cuss them out and say, you guys cheated because you like took what I did and then you just like, you leapfrogged me. Yeah. You know, and my youngest brother said one of the most beautiful things one day. We were trying to have dinner as a family and we're taking a quiet moment, and you know, someone came over to the table and they're like, hey, can I get a selfie? And this is happening in the dinner, and you know, and someone who was with us said, oh man, that must get annoying. And I was like, well, I get it. And I said, I just don't understand the familiarity and I don't understand it truly. And my brother said one of the most interesting things. He said, no, what you're not understanding is a disconnect in your relationship, in the relatability. He said, you've met them and they've talked to you and you've had a conversation with them, and so they've built up a relationship with you, but they don't understand that you haven't been building up the same relationship with them. And so he said they're reacting to you as naturally as they would had you been conversating with them constantly.
Yeah.
And so he said, if anything, they're acting normally. You're acting weird Because they go, hey, Trevor. And you're like, who the hell are you? And they're like, what do you mean? We've been friends for 7 years. I watch you on TV every day.
Yeah.
And just through that lens, he helped me understand that it's that they were misrelating.
Yes.
And that's sometimes what happens to us, I think, as people is we're misrelating.
Yes.
We have an idea of the thing that isn't incorrect from our point of view.
Yes.
But is incorrect from the other person's point of view. And so that's what creates the conflict.
Wow,
you know?
yeah,
That's what creates
yeah.
the disconnect. And that's what creates the loneliness. That's what creates the isolation. That's what creates the, it creates an environment that doesn't lend itself to familiarity, to trust, to relaxation. I think that's where it becomes even more important.
Yeah.
To find your grounding, to find your space, to find your, like my friends know me in the group, I'm notorious as the vacation guy. I'm the holiday guy.
Yeah.
Really, I'm like, where are we going? What are we doing? We're making this happen. I shoot out a list and everything because I don't live back home.
Yes.
They all do. So I've learned they can take for granted the fact that we'll see each other. And they might go like, oh, did we plan anything for December? Oh, we didn't. Oh, well, we'll do. No, I can't take that for granted.
Yes.
And so they know, I go every year, I'm like, guys, what are we doing? And what are we doing here? 3 times a year, we have to be in the same place.
That's amazing.
And it doesn't mean we're going somewhere fancy. No, we might just find a place, a house, and we sit together and that's what it's going to be.
Beautiful.
But I make it happen because of that relatability, because that is where I can exist, they can exist. I can exist, they can exist. Because sometimes what's funny is it can go the other way for me. Sometimes I will completely be myself with people and they won't know what to do with it because they only have one idea of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they'll meet me and, Trevor, hey, how are you? Hey, buddy, hey, blah, blah. And if I say something back and they go, hey, wait, what was that? I'm like, oh, this is all of me.
Yeah. They don't have a reference point. Yeah.
And I get that. And so it's really interesting when you exist in a one-dimensional space in terms of, I guess it would be unidirectional. It's just like, it's just going in that one direction as opposed to it coming back and going,
Yeah, definitely. That's such a great answer. I'm one of those people that generally if I get enough time to meet someone or if I know someone's going to be in my life for an extended period of time, i.e. I hire a new person on my team or something like that, I try and show them all of me very quickly. I'm not one of those people that okay, I'm gonna be as jokey as I usually am. I'm gonna expose you to how I talk to my wife.
Interesting.
And I do that I definitely do it as a conscious.
Yeah.
It's not like it happens. It's a conscious attempt at trying to figure out whether this person actually wants to be around me or like me. Because I'd rather quickly figure out whether I feel chemistry with someone.
Yes.
As opposed to wait to reveal my full self for them to, what you said, to then let them down. And then they're like, oh, George, I didn't know you were like this. And so I usually warn people, I'm like, hey, I make a lot more jokes in person than I do on Instagram. And so if I'm and I banter a lot because of Britain.
Yes,
and so
of course, right.
Me and my wife will banter a lot. So most people think me and my wife are going to get a divorce every other day because it is the way we talk to each other, because we're both from England. I want people to be exposed to that, not because I want them to appreciate or like it. I just want to know quickly whether you vibe with me or not.
Okay, but aren't you ever concerned going the other way? Because you may go, this is me, this is all of me.
Yeah.
Now, depending on your position in life, the person may be a certain way to you based on that.
Sure.
Because they feel they can't, and then they reveal themselves. Then what do?
When they reveal themselves in a positive or like a challenging way?
Challenging way.
In a challenging way, then, that's what I'm saying, that it's people that I think are going to be in my life for a longer period of time. And then if it's a team member where we don't get along, then we can both move on and go our separate ways. I wouldn't do it with someone that I'm not getting enough quality time with.
How does a monk fire someone?
How does a monk fire? Well, I'm not a monk anymore.
I'd love to know, how does a monk fire? Like, you sit the person down.
Oh God, it is. You know what? The thing about it is so uncomfortable.
Oh, it is?
It is so uncomfortable.
I thought maybe as a monk it was like super chill and you just come in and you go, in life, everything is happening to you. Everything that seems bad could be good. And so do not think of this as me letting you go, but rather think of this as me setting you free.
Yeah.
I thought maybe it would be something more
surrender.
like that.
Then you have to end it with surrender. No, that would be brilliant. But
so it is uncomfortable.
Oh, it's so uncomfortable. As in, I've also been let go, so I know what it feels like. Like, I've been in a position where I think I've been let go poorly, where it hasn't been handled well. And I'm very clear on how, having one skill set doesn't just naturally apply to everything.
Right.
Being a monk doesn't make me good at recruiting people or letting go of people. Those are not transferable skills. There's certain elements of compassion and empathy, but it doesn't make you good
You
at
don't
the
assume
art.
that it will cover everything.
And it doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't, right? Like I think to give you a very practical example, I felt for a long time that people needed love. Like I felt for a long time that I believed that if you love people, then they'll be happy and they'll feel good about stuff. And I used to believe that. And after trying to express love to people, even in the way they wanted, so not even unconsciously, but I would try and figure out, how does this person receive love? Okay, let me give them love in the way they want to receive love. I realized that so many people were not even operating on that level yet, that all they needed was safety.
Damn.
Like they just needed a base level of safety. They couldn't even accept or receive love because that was such a lofty, deep idea.
Right.
It's like they didn't understand how someone who doesn't know them very well could express deep love for them because they've never experienced that before.